Alright, we've annealed the gasket, put it in, a little bit of gasket cement, non-hardening as you may remember, and as you can see we've hung the sprocket up here. Alright, we're on top dead centre for the rear one and lined our timing marks up. Take that off there. So what we're going to do now is put the head on, and we're going to feed this up and hook it on there. So if you'd like to just undo that hook for me. Yeah, take it off the sprocket. And then feed it down through there and hook it on the sprocket. As you can see, this is a lot easier with two people. Alright. There we go. And once we've done that, we can pop the screwdriver back in, just to hold it. There you go.
Put it where you need to. I'm not sure. Got it?
That'll work. So now we needn't worry about this for the moment, but we're going to use the wire again in a minute, as you'll see. So we'll just get that off the sprocket. Of course it catches on everything. There you go. Right. So all I'm going to do now is settle this down and start to put some nuts on, and then we'll do the timing. Just to remind you, seeing as I forgot, you've got to put the nuts down into the holes before you drop the head down. So we're going to have to just lift the head up enough to give us clearance. Then the nuts will go down through the hole in this fin, and then we can bolt them up.
You can focus it large or tight.
Oh, that's fine. So one thing you'll find when the nuts are on and the washers, that they drop down, and this gap here is too small to get that in. You want to be in here. So what you need to do is put a little screwdriver under and just lift the nut up till you can get at it, and then you're away. Alright everybody, this is the difficult bit. We've got these two inner bolts to do, inner studs with their nuts, and of course there's the washer on. Now then, can we get this nut on? So what I'm going to try and do, what I normally do, is put the nut on the end of there like that to hold it. Now we put that onto the top of the stud. We use the magnet to turn it. Oh, it didn't want to go on this time. I wonder if they had a special fella at the factory that did these. Because you can't get at it any other way. Sure, this is the way I did it. Let me get along. Now I'm afraid you're missing out on the most of this because you couldn't really see in here, and to be honest it's so fiddly that you wouldn't have learnt much. But what you've got to do is, we're at top dead centre here on this back cylinder. So you look through the little hole there, make sure you're on top dead centre, and then you lift the sprocket up, and there's a peg on the sprocket and a hole diametrically opposite each other. So the peg on the sprocket goes into the end of the camshaft at the top, and the hole is where the distributor is going to go. So you need to get this sprocket with the peg into the camshaft and the chain on, and what you might need to do is shuffle the chain around a little bit to get it all to line up properly. When everything's right, the hole in the sprocket and the peg mark in the sprocket should be perfectly vertical, and the chain should have one of the links flat on the top. And then you just tighten that up, and basically we're done here. The next thing you'll see is me putting the distributor on. Next step is to put the mounting plate in here. You'll see what often happens, of course, is some of the studs will come out with the nuts. The rubbers go on either side of this top piece. We're going to put this cover on, and this is the access to get to those strange cylinder head bolts. So that's going to go on there, like so, and we're going to bolt that up. Then next I'll put the distributor on. Alright, we've got our little cover on. So the next thing we're going to put on, I've lost it, is the distributor. And you see the distributor's got a little tang on it. That's going to go, the peg is at the top, so this is going to be at the bottom. By the way, it's got a little O-ring in there. If you've got a leaky one, do something with that O-ring. Don't go putting gasket cement on. So that will go in. And in fact, there we go. We're right up, spot on, I think. You can check back, seeing if that'll turn. So that's pegged in. And then all we have on there is a couple of washers and a nut, and it's like the Amel carburetors. There isn't quite enough room to get the nut in. You've got to have it fractionally off its seat. I don't know why they don't put thinner nuts or make the casting slightly bigger, but there you go. So that one goes on there. One round on the other side. Tighten it up, and I'm not sure how much you can see here, but these are slotted, so you can actually turn the distributor to adjust the ignition timing when you've got everything else set up. So we'll tighten those up, and the very last thing is, when we've taken the engine off the front mounting, it drops a little bit, so we've got a jack under it. So the final bolts go up here. Let me check you can see that. I have to move you up a little bit. That's it. This plate here with its rubber snubbers goes onto here. So what we'll find is that they will drop down. I've actually jacked this up a little bit, so it's ready to go. So I'll tighten these up, tighten those up, then we just pop the cover on. And then we're going to put the cover on here, and basically it's all done. Put the exhaust back on, the carburetor. I've just been looking at the video so far, and it's not exactly brilliant, is it? I put my little notice up to talk about, or to tell you that I'd cut out the piece when we were putting this in, because basically, you know, too many cooks spoil the broth sort of thing. With myself and the owner who was here, we were in front of the camera all the time. Plus I've forgotten to mention things, so let me backtrack slightly and then we'll do the thing. One of the important things I'd forgotten to mention is that when you bolt the head down, there's a very specific way to do the head bolts. There's not only, as I say, these 7 bolts round here, but there's one on each side at the back, and then there are those 2 inside. So you've got 11 tightening points, and it really is, it's sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's all over the place. So if you don't have the layout for that, either get in touch with Stewart's in the UK, or I think probably go on their website and you'll be able to see it. The other thing I didn't mention was over here there's a chain tensioner, a cam chain tensioner, and you slacken that off while you're working, of course, so I've got to put that back on. Another thing that I should mention to you is the valve cover. Whatever I've done with it. Here it is. Now, as I mentioned, the valve cover is mounted on 3 points, and what it's very easy to do, as someone here has done, I'll show you a close-up, is to over tighten these 3, and you press down and you actually break out around the bolt holes. So let me see if I can put that so that you can see it. Let me put you on automatic focus. Boing. I'll put this in front. There, you see that? All three of them. 1, 2, 3. All three of them were just smashed out and had to be broken up. So, put it back on there. So take that into account. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just put this cover back on, put the cap on the distributor, front engine mounting bolt and the horn which I'd taken off just to make things a little easier, and then we'll come back. And sorry about the other film. Here it is all put back together again. I didn't want to film just putting things like the exhaust and stuff on. It's all pretty straightforward, just bolting stuff on. I wanted you to see that little bit of engine work. And if you want to know more about the bits and pieces on this Sunbeam, I've left the doors open to let some nice warm air in. 84 here today, would you believe? It's going to be 60 something tomorrow. Anyway, there is another video about this bike where I give a walk around so you can get to see some of the things. So, put it on. I have actually had a quick ride round on it, so it should start. It should be warm enough to just start. You don't even have to kick these, just give it a little push. I think it's about 6.5 to 1. You can hear it. So there you go. I'll be honest with you, if it was mine, and I was wanting to ride it, I'd ditch these handlebars. If I wanted to put it in a museum, fine, it's all correct. But this twist grip is a pain. The whole thing, the complicated light switch, you know, there was a reason Sunbeam got rid of this. And to me, if you want to ride it, you do the same. Okay, so that's Sunbeam finished. We'll move on to something else. Enjoy yourselves.